Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Chuck, I don't have my picture on. Can you help me?
Should be a little camera thing in the bottom of your screen with a
Thank
line.
you, John. I'm not seeing it.
Bottom left.
Well, it depends on the
There you
device.
go.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Oh, maybe it does.
It just
There
wasn't
you
quick.
are. There it is, everybody.
Thank you very much, John.
Okay, we are all here because Denise is not going to be able to be here. So I will be taking minutes. I'm glad to see you, Noreen, on the screen. Excellent. And everybody else is here. Fantastic. Okay, the clock just struck and I am ready to declare the meeting open and open at 6 o'clock. And recognize Noreen here. Everybody got a copy of the March minutes?
Yep.
Everybody had a chance to take a look at them? And any discussion? Entertain a motion to accept?
So moved.
Thank you. Second, okay. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Fantastic. Okay. Treasurer's report.
No change. Oh, actually, there was one. I renewed our affiliate status with Federated Garden Clubs on
Excellent.
Monday. And that'll be my gift to the Arboretum.
Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that. I have a gift for you. I have 4 files that Jessie White was treasurer, just dropped off at the town hall. And she was the treasurer, so there's lots of treasurer stuff. And there's something that I think that you might like, Sandra. So I was going to hang on to one of them and get it over to you.
Is it for the it's for the database?
Well, it's wonderful records, and you're a great record scrounger. These are immaculate folders. I mean,
great.
they are just gorgeous. So that they're certainly worth hanging on to. And Jessie had them and returned them with her little key for the shed. So I thanked her, and we have them here. But you might like to see them, John. There's a whole list of suggestions from Jean Rushlow about what one should do when you become treasurer of the Arboretum, the steps that you have to follow as treasurer of the Arboretum. A little bit late to get it to you. I will get that.
A little bit late for that.
I will get it to you. As part of treasury business, I did call Chris, who is the other partner in our landscaping crew, and he said that they would be happy to do it like they did last year. Once a month when we need them to come, he and I and anybody else will talk about what needs to be done, and he'll come and take a look, and then he'll send his guys over and take care of it. So it doesn't need a contract. Apparently it will happen whenever we feel we need to have it done. And then we pay him at the same rate as we did last year. Is that okay, John?
Yeah, did we budget? Is that part of, did we spend money with him last year, or was that, is that better view?
Yes, we did. That's in your budget, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Any other treasury issues?
No.
Nope.
Did we hear from the town yet, or remember we had put that?
I haven't heard a thing, and I did not go to the meeting last night. Did anybody go to the meeting last night?
There was a town meeting last night, but that had to do with property.
It didn't have anything to do with budget?
Well, there was one motion to move some money around to pay for a situation where there are a bunch of dog pets and other animals removed from a place where they were being mistreated. And
yeah, I saw that on the agenda. Yeah.
They're being boarded somewhere, and there are a lot of vet bills, and the meter so far has hit 100,000. And so we had to move money around to cover that.
Wow.
There's a state statute that says we have to do it, so we had to do it.
Okay. Sarah, I saw you shaking your head. So as far as we know, we have had no response on our budget requests, right? Okay.
Well, and it's probably, I need to go and poke around on the website, the town website. They may very well be a draft of the budget out there.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind doing that, John, that would be very helpful.
Well, let me make a note. This, I've got a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
Tom and Sandra, the motion you folks sent your proxies for passed unanimously.
Oh, good. Thank you for doing that for us.
Okey-dokes. Keep going, Philippa. This is just my little note
Okay,
off to the
I
side
thought
to
that
get
was-
something done.
So the next item then, if we've gone past the treasurer's report, is a review of work projects, which of course we have not done anything after I put the cardboard down. But we do have a bunch of work that we probably should do in April.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, starting to get rid of some of those invasives would be good, because they're
Yeah.
not leaked out yet.
Yeah, removal of invasives, but there's also sort of a list of other things that we should be doing in the Arboretum. One of the folders had a whole sort of year-long list of chores for us to do, which was very helpful. But things like feeding the bulbs, clearing out around the Lenten roses, that hasn't been cleaned out yet. I know you've already done yours, Sandra. But the bulbs need feeding, and the other things on the April list were edging and weeding all the beds, mulching beds if they still needed it, spring cleaning the entire Arboretum, fertilize, lime, and aerate the lawn. Now, I don't know if we want, that would be something we would hire Chris to do. Do we want to do that?
Do we want to do that, since it's on almost all Japanese stoke grass?
I would think probably not. I don't think we need to do it. I would agree. But
Yeah,
we do need to
I wouldn't feed that at all.
Okay, I do think we need to weed and edge the beds, and we need to fertilize the bulbs, the daffodils. And then we need to remove invasives. Yes, absolutely. Anybody else got other thoughts of things that we absolutely need to do?
What about there's a lot of limbs down and some hanging limbs and some dangerous, ones that are up above.
Yeah.
I think
Picking up the wood is definitely in it. And
yeah, but I meant some of the stuff is up. We might need to have some limbing done.
okay, do you want me to bring down a ladder and a saw and you can hold me and I'll go up and
Well, I think we should maybe look and just mark what we think is dangerous and see if we can do it ourselves, or I certainly can do some of it, but I'm a little worried. I think there was one up in, what was it, the hemlock, but maybe that looked like it was hanging, what kind of high up there.
yeah,
Looked
yeah.
like
And
it was,
there are branches down, big branches down. So I
we
don't know
can,
that there is somebody at the academy who wants to do an community service or Eagle Scout project or something. Do you know anything about that, Sarah? I told them to get in touch with you.
No idea.
Julie texted me and said, can they do service hours? And I said, absolutely, have them contact Sarah. I don't know who the student is.
Nor do
No.
I.
Okay, let me check with Julie, because that person could come and pick up the wood. That would be an easy student project. And they could get some community service hours. So I'll call Julie and find out. But that nobody approached you, huh?
No one approached me.
Okay.
well, let me
Does that
know.
include cutting up that giant log into pieces and taking it out?
I wouldn't think so.
Across the path near the wetland?
I wouldn't think so. No, we wouldn't have a student do that.
I just know.
That would have to be a logging person.
Coming with them, or-
No, they don't usually.
Let me just make sure I'm on the agenda here.
I have a big work day. I think I have 50 people signed up for May 22nd.
Terrific.
But I know April's hard at school because we have our break.
Right. So that might be the time we would do the edging of all the beds and things and the weeding of beds, because that's a lot of work there. I think
It is.
we need to fertilize right now and get hold of the invasives. And I could work the next 2 Tuesday mornings if there's anybody else available, like from maybe 10 to 12 on a Tuesday, next Tuesday and the following Tuesday.
I'll look and I'll get back to you on that. I think it's probably good, but I'll let you know.
Okay, check your
And
calendar.
I'll probably poke around and just maybe pop in when I have time. And now
That's
that now that I know what the list is,
okay.
so.
Okay, so I will try to be down there, as I say, those 2 Tuesdays. If anybody can join me, always glad of the company.
What time did you say again, Philippa?
And I was thinking about 10 to 12, 10 to
Okay.
11:30. It's sort of warmed up by then, maybe.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. Have you been there? Is the witch hazel blooming? Did it bloom?
You know what? I haven't been down there. Our witch hazel here at the house, which blooms much earlier, has been in bloom for the last 2 months and is still stunning. But the daffodils should be coming out down there.
Yeah, we went down it wasn't in bloom yet, but that was a while ago. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll take a walk down.
Okay. So the May the 22nd, we'll know exactly what the students need to do then. And if anybody can put that on their calendar to come down and supervise, students do well with a lot of adult supervision. So what time will that be on May the 22nd?
We'll probably get down there at 2:35.
Okay. Terrific. When is the history day? Do you remember, Sandra? That's in May, isn't it? I have my calendar upstairs. I'm downstairs right now.
Yeah. Let's see if I have it on mine.
You have it?
I don't see it.
Okay. And it's sometime in May. I don't know if it's before or after the 22nd.
I don't have it.
It's not on the minutes. I don't think so. No. Shoot. Okay. Long-term projects. We really need to sort of hear about our budget, I think, right? How about Sandra and Tom? You're sort of the long-term project people. What
What do you need that at this point? I think we need budget. Mhm.
I mean, we just threw out a bunch of ideas and we don't. It's a matter of how much of it do we want to try to
right?
accomplish and when, and I mean, I guess most of it requires a lot of fundraising, I would think.
Well, one of the things
Or
that
budget.
Noreen, you had mentioned was that Deep offers some big grant returns. So that might be something that we should begin to think
For
about.
trails, right, and I don't know, I haven't checked to see if they've released a date for applying for this year. My guess is with all the kind of ongoing turmoil nationally that Connecticut may not, Deep may not be making this available this year. Who knows, right? Because they may feel they need money for just regular operating if they don't get as much federal funds.
Right.
So I don't know. I didn't check. I can check, but it's on their website. But I can do that if you'd like, and I'll email you guys.
Well, I mean that's very sweet of you, but you're not one of the working members of the committee.
No, I understand. But I'm happy to do that if you want. I mean, otherwise you can just look yourself on it's it's a deep grant and it's for, the one I had mentioned was trails. They probably have others that
Okay.
might be applicable.
Okay, well, I feel sort of guilty in not doing that ourselves rather than passing it on to you as our guests, but thank you for volunteering. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I'm in town now.
I finally tracked down the woman at the Quiet Corner Garden Club, who's the civic chair, and have exchanged emails with her about grant application process, because they have a pot of money they got from a bigger grant that they're willing to use for projects. And I sent back a note to her and her email bounced, so I haven't been able to reestablish contact with her. But that would be a source for a, $500 to $1,000 perhaps sum of money if we could identify a small to medium-sized project where we wanted to put in some new plants or put in a new tree or whatever. Another thing is that the incoming president of Federated Garden Clubs has a budget of $10,000 that she wants to use to make $500 grants to garden clubs. And we had a planning session yesterday for the mechanics of how it would work. And I asked her if affiliates might be able to apply for those grants. Well, they hadn't thought about that. Now, whether they will agree to do that or not, I don't know. But that would be another source of money, and their grants would be for plant materials or soil amendments or whatever for a garden where it was aimed at pollinators and bees, and you also had involved other groups in the community. So if we had a project that involved the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts to plant a new garden around one of our trees, kind of in the middle of the Arboretum, or to put something new in the wetlands area to make that look better. And we could do it for that amount of money. That might be another source of funding. And I've talked with Karen Fitzpatrick, who's the finance officer for the town, because we are a town committee. And I asked her about applying for grants. And she said they needed to know about any grants, and they would not support reimbursement grants or grants where the town had to do matching funds. So neither one of these that I've just mentioned would involve either one of those things. It wouldn't be on a reimbursement basis. It would be upfront money for specific purposes. So those are a couple of options. The garden club is definitely available. If we have a project we can describe to them and they can decide whether they want to spend it or do it or not. The Federated Garden Clubs may or may not be.
Okay.
I'd like to say there's also the possibility of grants, a grant through the Connecticut Botanical Society, which is, they have grants for a couple of purposes, but one is for restoring or enhancing native plant communities, which the Arboretum Commission could probably qualify for that. And I also think that that's not like a matching one. They're not like large, but it says the awards are generally between $1,000 and $5,000 from the Connecticut Botanical Society.
Is there a deadline date for that, Noreen?
Soon, April 21st.
Okay.
But that is almost, well, 2.5 weeks. But
right. Sandra,
Mhm.
removing invasives from the rain garden and putting in other plants in the rain garden, that would fit into that restoring and enhancing native plant community.
as long as
Absolutely.
they were native, yes.
Yep. Yeah, we could definitely do native plants there. And then the other thing, I think Kristen had been working on all those little milk jug things with the flowers, right? That you did this so. And
I'm
we
not sure
talked
what's
about
gonna come of
removing
that. They're just
cactus.
coming out of chill yet.
Yeah, so we're talking about maybe on that hill, right where the sign is, starting to remove some of that pachysandra and putting in some of those daylilies, if we can find them from down below where they're not doing so well, and then adding maybe some of those flowers too. So that could be, we could.
Daylilies, yeah, daylilies aren't native though, right?
No, I
So-
meant for
Oh, I
project.
see, you shifted, okay, sure.
Yeah, just a couple, those are, so there was another one that they said, establishing a garden. There was another $500 grant with Girl Scouts or something like that. Maybe that hill we could focus on as well.
Mhm. Is there a specific form that we have to fill out for either of these things, John or Noreen? I mean, how do we apply? Is it a letter sufficient with a plan, or is it a form that has to be filled out?
The Quiet Corner Garden Club, the chair, her name is Michelle Lengel, wanted to have a Zoom call with us before she committed to how we would apply. And
Okay.
that's the email exchanges back and forth were to find some times to make that work. You were copied on some of those emails, Philippa.
Yes, right.
There is for the Federated Garden Clubs, the form has been developed. It'll be posted on their website. But Nan Marola, who will be elected president in a couple of weeks, hasn't yet decided whether she wants to have that program open to affiliates or not.
Okay.
So, but another project, and I don't know if it's part of the grants or if it's just part of the Quiet Corner Garden Club, is that whole woodland garden, where the tree peonies and the hostas and all that. It just needs, didn't there somebody establish that, and we just could use some help there, maybe from the garden club, or I don't know who else, but that.
Linda Kaplan designed and built that. That was part of her Master Gardener project. And so it does need work. The May workday is probably too late for getting that tidied up. But Linda has indicated that if there were a workday where there were kids and stuff around, she would be happy to come and point and show them what to do and help them do stuff.
I think Linda's garden is not the one that you're talking about, Sandra. You're talking about the area below Linda's garden. Linda has the woodland wildflower garden, which is above the
That's
park.
over on the fence by where's the woodland flower garden?
No, it's the path that goes up from the major area to past the Purple Beach.
Yeah,
The woodland garden is above that path. I think the area you're talking about with the tree peonies that Bill Brower put in and the hostas is below that path. I don't know
Okay.
who put the hostas in.
both of them need attention.
Yes, they do. And you don't think Linda would be able to do something by May the 22nd, John?
She was interested in being there when somebody else was, so I can tell her about the 2 work days and maybe she'll come on one of those.
Sure. I mean, May the 22nd gives her plenty of time to be free to come.
Well, but if they need work now,
Oh,
perhaps one of the 2 Tuesday work days
Right.
would suit her schedule.
yeah. But there wouldn't be kids there. There would just be maybe me.
No, but well, that's okay. We'll see. I
about
mean,
that
I'll let her
one-
know about the work days.
Okay, that'd
What
be great.
about that one student that Sarah mentioned that needed some more hours?
So that
No, that was-
would be in class at that time.
Oh,
That they won't be able to come and do volunteer hours unless it's out of school, and that he would be in class, whoever I think it's a he, whoever he is.
As I'm looking, excuse me, I think that Connecticut one, the Botanical Society, is actually April 15, which might be unrealistic, but maybe not if you've got an area that you've already identified. So,
and how do we apply?
well, I can't download it on my phone, so, I'm afraid if I try to get off to
Yeah, don't
split
worry.
the screen, that I'll lose the call.
So it's Connecticut Botanical Society, is that correct?
Correct, yeah, and it's a small, they call it the small grants or something. You'll find it, I'm sure,
On the website, okay,
on their website, yeah.
okay. Sandra, maybe you and I can get together and take a look at that and write something up.
yeah, we can
before-
walk around and look at the specific areas and what needs to be done and kind of put a very comprehensive work list together so that we can, it might help out.
Yeah, if you can come on one of the Tuesdays, like maybe next Tuesday if you're free.
Yeah, we got a little bit of work, Philippa, because I've got to do that walkabout guide and we haven't finished that and we have to kind of redo it. And then we have to chunk it down into your talking guide.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I want to get that before we start having groups coming in. So I
Right.
want to get that done too.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's try and get the Botanical Society done next Tuesday if possible. If we can get the application in, that would be nice. And then we
And
can.
that one's the one for the native and the rain garden. That's the one you're thinking of, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because that'd be a nice place to put some witch hazels and
Mm-hmm.
button bush and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And if we get something written up, I mean, we can use it twice as far as, just change who we're sending it to.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Let's see if there's anything else there. Okay, we're sort of covering all of these items 6 and 7 at the same time. I'm going to be away from Good Friday until the following, like a week. I'm going to be in LA, but I'll be down there working in between that. Did I understand, Kristen, that the plants are not starting up in those plastic bottles, or I was unclear as to what was happening with the plastic bottles?
Well, they've been winterizing, so they're just breaking. I really only see one. I only see brown-eyed Susans coming up, but it's a little early. They've been outside. That's the thing of it. So they will break when they should break, but it's 50-50 in general. So we'll see what this year looks like. But they're not going to be 4-inch pots in May.
What? They're not. Goodness. Yeah, I just got a way to fertilize orchids. Apparently, if you put garlic in water and dissolve garlic powder in water, it will bring orchids rushing into bloom. So all my orchids now stink of garlic. I'm hoping that they like to be very Italian and smell of garlic, but I don't know. I'm waiting to see if that happens. But there's nothing that will make your plants rush ahead, huh?
No.
No, okay. They will just have to go naturally. I guess we really have to wait to move on any of the projects that Sarah, you listed as what we have to do for safety and all kinds of other reasons until we find out what the budget is. Because, even just talking with lumbering people, we can't do that until we know how much money we've got and then what the town will give us for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to wait on ice, I think. Anything that we have not covered? We're going through like a hot knife through butter today. What's on people's minds?
Well, it's gonna just start getting busy. That's all.
Yeah.
It'd be
I
nice.
wonder-
It would be nice to have the list so that we can just kind of go through it so that we know what we need to get done and just start checking them off,
Okay.
I wonder if it'd be worth it to reach out to Woodstock Rec or who's ever organizing Earth Day and say not only like clean up around your road or whatever they do for Earth Day in Woodstock, but also maybe I don't know what day Earth Day is, but come to the Arboretum. Would that be something? Even if it's just picking up sticks and like that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Would that be worth it?
Has anybody picked up when Earth Day is in Woodstock? It's been advertised.
I don't know. I think I'm away.
Does anybody know when it is? And are they around?
I can look.
I think it's the 22nd.
22nd of April?
Yeah, but I don't know if the town is doing something like on a different day, but that's generally Earth Day is the 22nd.
Yeah, and I think doesn't the town have an extended period of time? Or is it all on one day? I thought it was like over a month. I mean, in the past, it was like you had several
Here it
days.
is.
Collect.
It's Saturday, April 5th.
But that's
up
just
trash
the
party.
kickoff day.
That's trash party.
But that's just kickoff. You can pick up for an extended period,
Yeah.
but it's trash.
Gotcha. Never mind. I was just trying to think of creative ways to get people down there and maybe get some whatever they need, hours or what have you.
Yeah, no, I love the creative thoughts.
Thanks,
Uh,
Philippa.
Okay, I don't have anything else. As I say, I will be down there the next 2 Tuesdays. I would love to have people come and help, 10 to 12. And we can
I
see
will be there.
what needs to be done.
And
I-
if I go, you know, on odd times, do you want me to just send text out to
Sure.
whoever's interested?
Yeah, just if you have everybody's emails, right?
Yeah, well, it's usually I'm a texter rather than email. I won't see an email. I don't look at them as often.
Okay,
so
you
if
can send out a
if
text, sure.
Yeah, I'll send out a text.
If you're
Uh,
going down, I can often find some other times.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if I just have an odd day here and there, I just go down and poke around for a few hours and
Mhm.
pull a few things out. And
Get after those invasives.
there's so many. There's just so many in my yard. There's so many everywhere. It's just crazy.
And it all depends on the weather too. You know, if it's a
Yeah.
miserable day, the wind blowing hard, it doesn't feel like going. Yes, John.
I poked around on the town website while we've been talking. The public hearing for the budget for 25-26 is Tuesday, April 8th at the middle school at 7 o'clock. The initial proposed budget, which I think may have been approved by the Board of Selectmen, has us at the same amount of money at $3,000, even though it notes our request was $9,000.
Okay. Tuesday, April the 8th, 7 o'clock at the middle school, right?
Yep. It's in the cafeteria, I think.
Right. Okay, I will.
And there are links on the town website. If you go to the Board of Finance part of the town website, you can navigate to find these documents.
Okay. Thank you for checking into that. Yeah, I think maybe 2 years ago I made a plea for the trees and got nothing, but I can always do it again.
Tom's, he's got his connection with Pride, was it Pride Corner? Pride's Corner Farm, so if we're looking for some new trees, maybe we should put together a list of trees that we are thinking about planting or would like to plant, and maybe start putting a list together. And then if anybody, I don't know if we want to do memorial trees, but if anybody wants to do a memorial tree, just have them pick off of that list rather than whatever they want.
I think that's a great idea. Kristen, as our gardener, you would probably be a good resource for telling us what trees we should be getting. Is that right?
I think Tom is your guy. I can
Well, that
certainly
gets
look
back
them
to,
up.
our thought about we should have a plan for what we'd like to do. And it may be dreaming, but if we had a plan that said we want to add new trees of some ilk here, here, and we want to do this with the wetlands area, and so on, so that if somebody came to us and said, I want my late mother or my late aunt or whatever always liked the Arboretum, and we'd like to honor her memory by writing a check for $2,000. What do you suggest? What would you like to do with it? So we have a ready-made answer. We'd like a new blop-de-blop tree to plant here, or we'd like so many sets of whatever, lilies or skunk cabbage or whatever to put in the wetlands.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe that, I don't mind putting something like that together. Philippa, when we're walking around and doing all, and, with Kristen there doing that walk around stuff, we can start putting together what that might look like. And then, maybe Tom can help with some of the trees, we can start identifying, what the replacement area, what do we need? First of all, just space, and then start looking at picking out what kind of trees we want.
Yeah, I did try to reach out to the Arnold Arboretum and did not get any reply back, but I will do it again. I did not pursue that. I've been busy with other stuff, but thinking that would be a good source to say, okay, what trees should we be planting in this?
Well, that's what I've been thinking about, and I haven't done anything about it, but it just seems like arboretums would be a good source for, you know, tree species that we think are important
Right.
to, I mean, I guess we had a, I don't know if we really have a theme of what it goes in there. I mean, I know we do have lots of natives. We do have a lot of, you know, plants from overseas as well. But sometimes when you have a specific goal in mind for, you know, certain types of plants, then that's a guide for figuring out what you want to put in.
Mhm.
But
I'm
like
sort of
I say, talking to the Arboretum might be helpful too. They might say, well, they have a list of, I mean, I don't know. You know,
Yeah, I'm sort of a baseline person. Is we want survivors. You know, we're trying to get trees that will still be around for the next 100 years. So we want those. And I love trees with stories. That when we're showing them to people, we've got nice stories to tell them about what this tree does.
And I have a few of my favorite trees.
There you go. And I'm sure that everybody else has a favorite tree that they would just love to see there.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. But I, you know, I think just having, you know, kind of a broad container that we say, you know, this is the sort of trees we're looking for. This is why. But you're right, they are doing the Arboretum. Is that something we can help you with, Philippa? Because maybe you and Tom, you know, because he knows the trees. Maybe
That'd be
it's
fantastic to come up with a list. Yes, Tom, it'd be wonderful.
yeah, you know, if you want to call and you know, maybe they can, you know, is that something?
yeah, I mean, I could.
You got clout and status too. You got a title. You know, they'll return your call.
They might.
Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love you to do that.
Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. The year was enough. You don't say anything more. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay. Any other issues, concerns, questions, thoughts?
What are we gonna, so what's our plan? Yeah, I do have a question and maybe that goes into the planning thing. And Kristen, maybe this is the help is that we put all of that cardboard down on the backside of the rain garden. And we do probably need to let it sit for a little while so everything stays there. So we might have time, but we have to kind of figure out what we're doing with it afterwards so that we're not constantly fighting it. Is that something you can help us with?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but you do want to let it sit at least the growing season.
Oh,
not
so
killing
it's for the
anything.
whole year?
At least the summer.
Okay.
Otherwise, you haven't killed anything.
Okay, so we just let it sit, but
Yeah.
but
And really for new plantings of natives, the fall is the best time to put them in anyway.
so maybe come up with a plan by
Yeah, I
fall.
think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's easy. That takes, phew.
Do nothing is my plan.
So the plants that you have, starting from seed, is that they should be fully mature and ready to plant by then, right?
If they do, you know, they haven't really emerged from they haven't germinated yet, most
Right.
of them. So we'll see.
Well, we need to, that rain garden area is a project that we probably need to think about the plan for it. Because it appears to me that whatever trees / bushes were planted on the uphill side of the rain garden might have intended to be dwarf specimens so you could look over them to something on the other side of the rain garden. Didn't work because they're 10 feet tall. So we either have to decide we need to swap those out for something that's lower or keep pruning them so that you can see something on the other side of the rain garden.
And if we do that walkway with that deck, then you would be able to see it on the other side. If we
Well, that's
decide to go, if we decide to go that way.
You know, because she made a good point last time that, you know, that way you'd have on the backside, it wouldn't be the backside anymore, it'd be another front. And so
Yeah.
you have two fronts with shrubs in the middle and low stuff on either side.
How do we move, like, if we were thinking about doing just like, even just getting that deck built? Do we just get some quotes on it for now and figure out what it costs? I mean, do we do anything, or do we wait till the budget? I don't know how any of that stuff works. How a project like that would move forward.
Well, I think that if we could figure out a way on a pro bono basis to figure out what it would cost, you know, and get almost to the point of engineering drawings, so you've got an idea of what it's going to cost, then figure out how you're going to fund it. The town will not fund that.
Right.
And I can
No,
tell you
we
that
know.
right now.
Yeah.
So then we have to find somebody that is willing to provide a grant in 5 or 6 figures, because I imagine it would be 5 figures at least to do that deck. You know, 10 to 30 or $40,000 probably to sink pilings,
Mhm.
the structure and railings and all that kind of stuff. And so you have to find somebody that's going to fund it. Either have a fundraising campaign, and because we're an arm of the town, anybody who donates to that, there's no tax benefit to them. So then you have to decide, well, do you create a tax exempt organization, Friends of the Arboretum, so that you have a structure to do it with, or an organization? So there's a lot to think about. I mean, that's a beautiful idea, but a lot of work to get that done.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I don't know how it goes from thought to even start.
Well, the steps I just outlined is one way.
Right. Does anybody know of an engineer who might be willing to play with us for pro bono? What kind of a structural engineer would be involved, John?
Well, it's basically, I mean, Woodstock Builders could do that. I mean, I'm not sure they would do it pro bono, but they have the expertise to do a design build of that kind of structure.
Okay.
Because I mean, that's sort of like somebody putting a deck on the back of their house if their house happens to be on a slope, because one of the complicating factors is the slope.
Right. Sandra and Tom, were you about to say something?
I don't necessarily have any, I mean, he's asking me if I know any structural engineers that are willing to do pro bono work, and it's like, well, yes, I know structural engineers, but whether they're having, you know, that's a big question that I don't have the answer.
Okay.
And yeah.
John, do you know the guy who owns Woodstock Builders?
Doug Porter used to own it, and he's now retired or semi-retired, and has moved the ownership to some new people whom I do not know.
Okay, because he's the person whose voice you hear on Winnie Radio talking about Woodstock Builders.
I
still.
think before
Oh,
we
you
do
won't.
any reaching out, we've already got our hands slapped because we're going beyond. I think the first thing you do is you go to the town and you go to the highway department and you see who they know and who they have. And then if they have no one, then you do, and then you ask if you can do pro bono and all this stuff, because we are a town entity and we keep getting our hands slapped. So we have to do it the right way.
Okay.
You're
And I
right.
do have another meeting in 1 minute. So Philip, I made you the host. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Happy April.
Okay, I'm hosting.
Bye.
I guess. I think that's a good idea, though, that we should, approach the town about that. So again, probably just wait until the budget has done its thing and then come up with this, we're thinking about this. Do you have somebody who could recommend?
Or
Okay.
how do we go about it? I guess that's my question. So I've never done anything like that for a town or anything. How do you go
Right.
about What,
I think-
like what Sarah said, that makes perfect sense. We gotta, I don't know anything about what the town does and doesn't do. I mean, if we go, how does a project get started? And I know, the fundraising and all that makes, it is part of it, but it's also layered with complication that we're a town entity.
Right. And I think, John, you listed the steps that have to happen for a big project like this, and you're absolutely right. You need a drawing first, and then you make it, get the price tag vaguely, and then the fundraising. And that would be where, if Deep had money, then Deep would might approve something like this and think it's really exciting. So those are the steps. But I think approaching the town first is probably absolutely psychologically correct.
Well, and Sarah's point is, the town, the Board of Selectmen, I'll just pick on them for the moment, may or may not have in their head a vision of what they think the Arboretum is for.
Mhm.
Or, why do we have it? And so on. And then to say, we've got this dream, or we've imagined about how to make it more accessible and how to make it more usable for different groups of people. And one thing to do would be to build this ramp so you're up in the cedar grove and you see the plants better, and people who are struggling with mobility issues could see more of it by using this ramp and deck area. And that's an idea we have. Well, they may decide, no, they just want to leave it the way it is and just keep it basically the way it is.
Mhm.
Keep the, clear out the dead trees from time to time, depend on volunteers to keep it looking relatively pretty, but we don't want to expand it at all.
Mhm.
Then you're stuck.
Well, then we know what we
Yeah,
can.
you know where you
do.
stand then.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's
And
absolutely.
they've got a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
They got to add
And
dogs and
paying for
lots of dogs
anything
right
is
now.
tough. And it took, I forget how long they've been thinking about fixing bridges that are substandard in town. And it's taken, 10 years to fix a bridge. Yeah. That's the way towns work,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
funding for those kinds of things.
Yeah. Poorly, slowly.
Well,
Okay.
really excited. And I mean, if you got a sugar daddy that decides they fall in love with the Arboretum and wants to make it their project and set up a separate entity to own the Arboretum and buy it from the town and then do whatever they choose.
Anybody know any sugar daddies? Short supply on this committee, huh? Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Okay, thank you all very much. And
Night,
I'll see
everybody.
everybody on Tuesday. Anybody can come there.
All
Otherwise,
right.
enjoy the spring.
All right.
Thank
bye.
you.
Okay.